Nation Sports Show. Tonight, on a Nation Sports Show, we begin our coverage of the single greatest tournament in sports history. Tonight, we recap the first two rounds of March Madness. Some of tonight's notable games we recap include Florida's epic clash against a two-time back-to-back national champions, the UConn Huskies. In Raleigh over the weekend, total domination by one of the number one overall seeds, the Duke Blue Devils. An epic game winner for the ages between Maryland and Colorado State, and so much more went down in the first full weekend in the single greatest elimination tournament in college sports. Tonight, we also bring you the latest breaking news in the NFL, the NBA. This Thursday, Major League Baseball's regular season finally gets underway. And tonight, we bring to you our top 5 games of the NFL season from 2024. Tonight, we also preview the Sweet 16. All teams involved know the golden rule. You win, you move on. You lose. Elimination. It's showtime.
Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up.
Good up to the court, talking all that is sport, breaking down the latest news, scores, and more. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show.
All right, here we go, guys. It is that time once again, and it is our Nation Sports Show. I am Ezra Vickery here, and we thank you guys for joining us for another great week of all sports talk and maybe a little wrestling in between. We'll see where we can fit it in. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about. NCAA March Madness is in the Sweet 16. We're going to go over the competitors in each of those matchups. We're going to give some of our thoughts on of course, the start of this crazy-ass tournament. We're also going to be doing some NFL news, including some breaking news that came about concerning quarterback situation in New York. We're going to get into that in a little bit. We're going to get into all your other news, NBA, NHL, UFC, whatever we can get into in the time allotted, we'll get into it. But first, the ways you can interact with us is, of course, at Owen_Sports Show on the good old Twitter machine, X, Facebook.com, Instagram.com, and, of course, YouTube at Our Nation Sports Show. Also, don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner at The Nation's Corner on the Instagram and on YouTube, as well as Nation's Corner on Twitter and everywhere else. Join them on YouTube every Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, as they cover all things professional wrestling, from John Cena's epic promo to timeless Tony Storm closing out Dynamite last week to anything in between coming up this week with an epic Dynamite and, of course, GCW this weekend. And, of course, the road to WrestleMania getting more busy and busy as it progresses. So definitely it's going to be an amazing time, an amazing show. Check it out with the guys and gal on there, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, every Saturday. And also don't forget to follow at 2Sweet Cosplay across all socials. That is, of course, my wrestling-themed cosplay group out of Chicago, featuring myself, Nico Melendez, Andrew Wildcard Man, Steve OJ, and his lovely wife, Raquel Rocky Janes. Also, don't forget to join us on Sunday, April 13th, room S41D at McCormick Place off of Cermak Drive in Chicago, Illinois. C2E2, we're going to be hosting a panel. It is going to be a special WrestleMania preview panel as we get ready for, of course, WrestleMania the week after. And also, we will be covering also the collective, which will be taking place in Vegas. We'll be talking about Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. We'll be talking about Joey Janela's Spring Break, Effie's Big Gay Brunch, and all the other great matches and events that are going to be happening all weekend long. Join us then for that as well, please. All 3-day passes are currently sold out. Single-day tickets are still available. And single-day kids and 3-day passes are 75% sold out. So if you don't want to miss out on the biggest party for Comic-Cons in Chicago. Go to c2e2.com for more information on how to get your tickets, parking, and how to join us. Enough of my spiel, enough of my usual stuff that I don't make a dime off of. Let's move on here. And unfortunately, Joey is not here with us this week. He is under the weather, and we will see him next week when he returns. We wish him the best and get well soon. Kevin may join us. I don't know yet. We'll see what happens. Of course, we'll try to get Hijacker Mike here on a future show. He's currently busy with his other job. Of course, check him out, Smoke in the Bay, Smoke NTHABAY. Check out his channel for all your cigar needs. But I got with me the heavy metal brother from North Kakalaki. He is strong like bull, but can't say the same about his men's college basketball team because they got smashed. They got the taste slapped out of them mouth so hard they might as well call themselves Gunter. Ladies and gentlemen, big Stevie Cool, Stevie Wyand.
In other words, they got the yeet slapped out of them. But
what did the five fingers say to the face?
Slap! Fortunately for me, that's not my college team.
Thank God it's not mine either.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Fortunately for me, that it's not my college team. And for those that are fans of the Tar Heels, I'm sorry about your damn luck. Try to play a better first half, and then you wouldn't have to be having to come back in the second half. Just saying. Tell me when I'm telling lies, as CM Punk would say. But that's beside the point. We'll get to that and so much more. Oh man, what a great weekend of sports. The tournament for March Madness is getting started, and obviously the NFL is still in hot heavy. The NBA's regular season is winding down, and also over the weekend I got to go to Seven Dust in Virginia Beach, at a very small club called Peabody's. It's a really cool club. Small club, 1,000+ people, sold out. It was the vibe in that room. It was so great. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. And obviously, like Ezra just alluded to, breaking news literally just came down almost 15 minutes ago concerning the New York Giants. We'll get to that. Maybe a little bit of wrestling talk and so much more. With that being said, let's do this.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Here we go. We're going to start this off. We are actually going to start this off in the world of... Hold on. Sorry about that. Little indigestion. Ate some bad food earlier, but whatever. Right now, we're getting ready for opening day, which is going to be an amazing, amazing time in the world of Major League Baseball. It's going to be some great games coming up. Obviously, teams are putting in some last-minute players, signing them. As a matter of fact, here's one. This signing just came down today, and it involves the Seattle Mariners. And the Seattle Mariners have announced that they have signed Cal Raleigh, who is, let's see. I'm trying to see what position he plays here. Doesn't really say in the beginning what position he plays, but to get to the point, he has finalized a deal 6 years, $105 million.
Real quick, Ezra, just to add, Joey said he may end up jumping on after all, but it'll be around the second hour.
Well, Joey, you suck. No, I'm kidding. We'll see. We'll hopefully see you in the second hour, brother. Can't wait. But Cal Raleigh has said that Cal Raleigh has signed 6-year, $105 million contract extension with the Seattle Mariners that will keep him all the way through 2030. So he is one of your star. He's actually a catcher. He's actually a catcher. I just saw this in the clip here. So, but he got paid. So congrats to him. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Jordan Montgomery had to undergo Tommy John's. He will undergo Tommy John surgery next week, and it will sideline for all of 2025 and likely part of 2026 as well.
Unfortunate with that injury. I mean, that injury just seems to be hitting, the baseball world left and right.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not a good thing there, but I mean, that's all I could pretty much find in the world of baseball as far as significant news. We don't want to get into every little detail, but
Baseball season does begin this Thursday.
yes, it does. One of the cool thing is for the Chicago White Sox, it was revealed that throwing the opening day first pitch will be Derrick Rose.
Nice.
So it's
famous Chicago player. Obviously played all those years with the Bulls predominantly during his career.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the true good guy straight out of Chicago, grew up in Inglewood, grew up in somewhere in there, I think Inglewood, something like that, in Chicago. Well, it sounds something similar to that. I can't remember the actual suburb, but he's a Chicago area boy through and through, and we're glad to have him home. We're glad to have him. His number's going to be retired this coming year, and it's going to be an amazing sight. Can't wait for that. But yeah, it's going to be awesome to have him back throwing opening first pitch. All right, let's get into the Sweet 16. Let's talk about March Madness, and what a hell of a madness it's been. I mean, a lot of surprise victories, some buzzer beaters. We had some comebacks. We had a little bit of everything. I didn't get to watch much of the games this week, unfortunately, due to family commitments. So there was a lot of family time this past week that I usually don't have, but this past week has been really busy, so I haven't had a chance to watch much of the games. I did watch the end of a couple of ones, including the women's one yesterday that was really, really good. I believe that was Maryland and Alabama, which went to 2 overtimes, and it took a game clinching 3 in the second overtime to send Maryland to the Sweet 16. So that was a really cool one to see. An update on brackets, and this is the big deal. As of this point, 0 men's brackets. All brackets have been busted on the men's side of the NCAA tournament, while on the women's side, there were only 33 brackets left. And of course, Sweet 16, they're on a little bit of a break right now. They do not start until Thursday. So definitely excited to see what's going on with the Sweet 16 on both sides of the ball. But checking the men's basketball side on the Sweet 16 bracket, here are your matchups. I should do the Tony Chimba voice. Ladies and gentlemen, here are your matchups. No, I'm kidding. But we have number 1 Auburn taking on number 5 Michigan. I think that's going to be one hell of a battle there. Number 6 Ole Miss taking on Michigan State. Of course, the winners of those 2 games will meet. And then we have Florida, number 1 Florida taking on number 4 Maryland. Then you have number 3 Texas Tech taking on number 10 Arkansas. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have The Kentucky Wildcats taking on, who are number 3, taking on the number 2 Tennessee Volunteers. Then you have Houston, ranked number 1, taking on the number 4 Purdue Boilermakers. BYU, ranked number 6, taking on number 2 Alabama. And number 1, ranked number 1 Duke, taking on ranked number 4 Arizona. Those are your Sweet 16 matchups that will start this Thursday. Steven, your thoughts?
I mean, when you look at how we got here, I mean, and we'll circle our way back to the first round in a little bit too, but how we got here. The Duke Blue Devils right now in the first 2 games, the first 2 rounds of this tournament so far have played total complete dominant basketball. I mean, just they have beaten the 2 teams that they have faced, including Baylor this past Sunday, dominated Baylor to punch their ticket to the Sweet 16. And how they are doing it this year. I mean, to think that Coach K retired a couple of years ago, and now fast forward 2.5, 3 years later, and Duke is still having complete control with their dominance, led by the freakish athlete himself, Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is a dynamic player on the ball, off the ball. I mean, he is so athletic. He can get to the rim. He can twist his body and corkscrew his body in different ways just to get off shots. He can shoot threes like nobody's business. I mean, he is one of the best pound for pound players. If you are not a fan of Duke, I understand. But if you are a fan of basketball, first and foremost, you respect greatness when you see it on the court. And that's what Flagg does. I mean, because the scary part is when he went out with the injury a couple weeks ago during the tournament for the ACC, they were still winning games. They were still winning games before the tournament without him and during the conference, tournament. It is just insane. And now that he's back and as healthy as he can be, the Duke Blue Devils right now are playing some great ball. And their opponent, Arizona, they're not going to be easy. They're not going to be an easy contender either because Arizona's been here a lot of the times as a higher seed. And this is what I've said. I said it on the show last week. Arizona is one team I would not trust. And unfortunately, I think this is where their downfall is going to happen. I think that Arizona is going to meet their match, and Duke is going to be way too fast. They're going to be way too quick to the ball, off the ball, defending, getting there, taking out their best player. And I just think that Duke is an overall better team. And even if I wasn't a fan of the Duke Blue Devils, I would be saying the same thing because you have to look at these teams, and call it like it is. Because no matter what we think of UConn and their run in the last couple of years and how, that Hurley is as a coach. Hurley is a very vocal coach and very boisterous. And I mean, you may not like the man, during his tenure with UConn, but he led them to 2 consecutive championships in the last couple of years. And I think that Dan thought that his team, getting, swapping back a little bit to that game on Sunday with Florida. Florida had to make a run, and they did. And they ended up winning the game, but we'll get to that once we get to the first 2 rounds, just kind of piggyback a little bit, because UConn thought they were probably going to punch their ticket to the Sweet 16 again when they were up later in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Steven, while we're talking about these matchups, we can piggyback on some of the matchups that took place. But I do want to get into one thing, Steven. This came from apparently from this guy, Rob Reinhardt. I'm trying to know who he is. Let me look him up real quick. Give me 1 second here. I'm looking him up. See who he is. Okay. Rob Reinhardt, he covers all things for the Herald. He's an Auburn alum. Right here, it says right here, the NCAA and Raleigh police have launched an investigation into UConn's athletic department, per a source.
Ooh.
Following the Huskies' loss to Florida, Dan Hurley went on an explicitive rant that was caught on video by a member of the media. UConn's director of men's basketball communications, Bobby Mullen, demanded the deletion of the video and threatened the reporter, saying that he, quote unquote, ruined his life. I'm told the NCAA is considering a possible postseason ban and loss of scholarship spots. Local law enforcement is also investigating the matter as making threats is illegal in North Carolina.
Oh, interesting.
Little wrinkle added to that. But real quick, I also want to say this. Villanova will be hiring New Mexico's Richard Pitino as its next head coach. Just to add that little nugget. So, but yeah, that's crazy news. You know, they're looking into that whole situation with UConn. Since you're talking about UConn, I figured I'd bring that up.
Yeah, that's news to my ears. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, and I know that Hurley is he's a very boisterous guy. I mean, he does not care. He will say what's on his mind at any given time during a game, after a game, during timeouts, you name it. I mean, he doesn't care.
Dude, and the fact UConn got bounced so early, it shocked me. I couldn't believe it.
13 consecutive games they won in the NCAA tournament.
They're
Domination.
back-to-back champions, right?
Yes, back-to-back champions. In the last couple years, nobody tested their mettle, tested their, their pride, their dignity, took them into the deep waters of the pool. But Florida did that. Florida gave them a run for their money. And UConn, I thought during that game, got a little cocky. I thought that, oh, we can just lay off the gas for a few minutes, for about a few minutes or a couple of seconds here and there, and Florida punched them right in the mouth. And that's also why Florida is where they are right now, and UConn they're out. And during this tournament, you cannot take possessions off or minutes off. You got to lay it out there on the floor. I mean, look at some of the teams that got bounced from the tournament. North Carolina, Memphis got bounced out. And some of these number one seeds were tested to their literal limits. Auburn, I've been screaming from the rooftops that Auburn should have never been the number one overall seed, and Creighton gave them a run for the money after Creighton dispatched Louisville in Lexington. Creighton was not messing around during that first half into the second half. Clemson, they got beat
by a ranked 12 school, McNeese.
And not just that, but McNeese was out shooting them in the first half. At one point, they were up by at least 20 points. And then Clemson made that comeback in the second half, but they had to be perfect. But it wasn't enough. And that's the thing about this tournament. You cannot take nothing off. You cannot, think to yourself that, oh, I can turn off the on and off switch and think about that, because that is why these teams are where they are in the Sweet 16. That's why Houston is where they are. That's why Purdue is where they are. That's why Duke is where they are. That's why Florida is where they are. You cannot take parts of games off and on, because if you do that, it will bite you when you least expect it.
Look at Houston. Houston blew out CIU Edwardsville by 38 points in the first round. I mean, insane. Look at the way freaking look at some other blowouts. Look at the way UCLA, like Utah State, blew them out by 26. I mean, in that first round. And look at this one right here. St. John's blew out Omaha by 30. Freaking Maryland blew out Grand Canyon by 32. And in one of the games you mentioned earlier, Stephen, you want to talk about disgusting losses and disgusting point differentials. I thought there was one I saw. It was a huge thought it was like 40-point differential. I thought it was or something close to it. One of these games. Duke beating Baylor by 33. Here it is. Here it is. Duke, when they beat Mount St. Mary's, beat them by 44 points.
Not even close.
No, but the second round was a little bit closer if you look at the games that they had. I mean,
This
Duke,
game right here in the first round, the Colorado State beating Memphis 78-70, that was a noticeable game because that was one of the games that knocked off people's brackets right there too. Because people had Memphis going a little far in the tournament. They got beat in the first round.
Missouri got beat by Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only time, and by the way, it's the only time Drake ever won something this year. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
I knew we were going to get a reference to that at some point during the show.
If it wasn't gonna be you or Joey, it was gonna be me.
And then this game right here.
What about Kansas?
Yes,
Jayhawks.
Kansas getting beat in the first round, bounced out of the tournament.
That one shocked me. Kansas getting beat. The one that blew my mind was Clemson with McNeese. I never heard of that school.
Me neither.
Never. And all of a sudden, they fucking beat them by 2 points, and they moved on to face Purdue.
And the score doesn't even replicate the outcome of the game.
No,
Because McNeese outbeat them on the ball, off the ball during that first half. The game was already over. When you're having to play catch up during the second half, you're down by 20, 22, 18 points. You have to be as perfect as you humanly can. Don't turn the basketball over. Maximize your possessions and your minutes and score at will. Get to the free throw line. Stop the clock. Score in many ways that you can. And the fact that Murray State did that, taking out Clemson, that was one of the biggest surprises of this tournament so far.
absolutely. Any other of these games you want a discussion?
Another game that jumps off the grid for me, North Carolina. And shout outs to my buddy Bo. We were on the way to Virginia Beach Friday. We were listening to this game predominantly in the car, and then we watched it in the hotel after we got to our hotel. And he said it before the game that he thought that North Carolina was going to come out flat. Now, mind you, they beat the dog shit out of San Diego State in one of the first 4 games. They dominated San Diego State, beat them badly. And he said to me before the game even tipped off, he said they're probably going to come out, play very flat, turn the basketball over, and they did. The reason why UNC lost this game was because of that abysmal first half. Turning the ball over, having very bad shot selections. You cannot make a run in basketball if you are making terrible shot selections, taking bad shots, not defending, not getting any stops. I mean, no matter what Carolina tried to do, it did not pay off. And RJ Davis tried so hard to get this team back into the game, and he did eventually, but he can't do it all by himself.
Oh, dude, we got more NFL news once we're done with this. Something else just broke.
Oh, go ahead. Break the news on that real quick.
Stephon Diggs, he's got a new home.
He does.
3-year, $69 million, $26 million guaranteed. He's going to the Patriots.
Whoa. Wow. Interesting.
Yep, this just broke from Adam Schefter.
1 year with the Texans, and he is out of there.
Yep.
Well, that right there just gave the Patriots their number 1 receiver for next year. Wow, and he's getting paid.
Yep, he is.
But getting back to this
March Madness.
Yeah, and then North Carolina made a run, and they took they had a chance to take the lead, but they just couldn't overcome Ole Miss. Ole Miss they were more consistent with their play call, and they weren't making stupid decisions. They were making incredible defensive efforts on the ball, off the ball, and just Carolina came out flat during that first half. And like I said, R.J. Davis, the man's an incredible talent for the Tar Heels throughout his entire run with the team, but he can't do it all by himself. And this team fought like hell to get into position to contend in this game and make a run at it, but it was just too little, too late. And Ole Miss moved on to the second round.
Absolutely.
There's that Maryland game you were talking about that blew up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Maryland game, where he wiped Grand Canyon, and then Colorado State was a close game by only by 1 point. Now to take on the Gators, and that should be. And Steve,
Another game that jumps off the grid to me is that Louisville game when Louisville took on Creighton in Lexington at the Rupp Arena. You're 50 miles from Louisville, Kentucky, and you're playing in practically your home, obviously a home state, you're playing just down the road, in Lexington. And Creighton went in there in that first half, and they could not miss from the 3-point line. At one point, they had 12. I think I counted 15 consecutive threes. Like 15 points off of threes. Insane. 15 points. All threes. They could not miss. And Louisville tried so desperately to get back in this game, but turnovers and foul trouble and just trying to match Creighton's 3-point shooting, and you're not going to beat any team. I don't care how good you are and what your ranking is. You're not going to beat any team trying to outshoot them when they're shooting as good as Creighton was during that game. That was one of the stunners in the first round to me, was Creighton destroying Louisville on Thursday.
Yeah.
Another stunner. New Mexico beating Marquette 75-70. Or excuse me, 75-66. 75-66, New Mexico won their first tournament game in over a decade. Insane. Great performance by both teams predominantly during that second half, because it was a back and forth game between those two. But eventually, Marquette just was missing threes and close layups, and worst of all, missing free throws. You cannot do that and expect to get back into the game. And then New Mexico went on that magical run in that second half to pull away, and they beat Marquette 75-66 to advance to round 2.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Steven, if you're done going through some of the games, I would like to get your of course, I would like to get your predictions on each of the Sweet 16 matchups.
Another just going through the games here. Oh, another game. Auburn and Creighton on Saturday.
There you go.
Auburn, again, I have said it and said it again. A suspect number 1. Number 1 overall ranked? No, should have been Duke. Creighton gave Auburn all they could handle in that first half. Creighton was leading at the end of that first half. And then in the second half, again, it was a tightly close contest. But Creighton was missing shots, and finally Auburn's defense locked down, and they were able to make a few more baskets and go on a slight run to knock Creighton out of the game in the tournament. And then Creighton, they couldn't get back in the game. Another game, Purdue dominating Murray State 76-62. This game was pretty close during the game at first, but then eventually in that first half, Purdue was making shots later on in that first half, and Murray State got down by as many as 20 plus. And they made a pretty good run at it in that second half. They got it down, I believe they got it down to as many as I think 12 or 11. So they made a decent, they are actually 10. They got it down to I think as much as 10. I mean, this is a lot of games to keep up with, folks. I mean, it's crazy. So many games to keep up with. And they made a run, but they were missing shots again, and just Purdue, they were just overpowering, Murray State. And got to give these kids a lot of credit. A population that is so small in Louisiana. And I'm so proud of those kids, how they, no matter how close the game was, how much of a blowout it was, they still played their asses off in that second half, trying to fight to make it a contest. But again, when you have better ranked teams like Purdue was just in the national championship game last year against UConn. Purdue is a damn good team. And I think Purdue could move on, but it's not going to be an easy matchup. Arkansas, this is another matchup because of the head coaches. In round 2, after both St. John's and Arkansas moved on, it was the matchup between John Calipari, the former Kentucky head coach, against Rick Pitino. Two great coaches in their own rights. And I think that Pitino's arrogance got the best of him, because he was trying to gamble. His team was trying to gamble and outsmart Arkansas, but it just kept biting him in the ass. The Razorbacks were not fooled by Pitino's, tactics in this game. And Calipari is a great coach in his own right. And this is why I said going into the game, I think that Calipari's team is the better team. Even though St. John's had a higher ranking than the Razorbacks did, there was just something telling me going into this game. I think that Arkansas has, the right players on their team to defeat St. John's. And even though St. John's was practically in the Northeast Territory in Providence, Rhode Island, that didn't matter to Calipari and his squad. They went in there and they took care of business. They made their free throws. They took very, very good shots. They weren't trying to outshoot the Razorbacks and get back in the game, or shoot their way into the lead early on. Because in the world of basketball, there are teams that try to go for the home run plays and try to outshoot their opponents into the lead and blow them out. And a lot of the times that goes against you. And Arkansas definitely outplayed St. John's on Saturday afternoon. Michigan and Texas A&M, that was a pretty competitive game. But Texas A&M, this is a common thread predominantly during this tournament. The games were close, but Michigan went on a run to pull away. Because I know a lot of people were wondering, where we're going to get those buzzer beaters, where we're going to get those drama, in-your-face games. Yeah, we predominantly got those a la the Auburn and Creighton game turned out to be a nail-biter for 90% of the game, but Auburn ended up pulling away. This Michigan-Texas A&M game was pretty competitive, but Texas A&M, the Aggies were just missing shots. And when you try to overplay your best players, I understand, it's one, win or lose. You win, you're in. You lose, you're eliminated. You have to play your best players. And sometimes when you overplay your best players, chances are you're probably going to lose those games. And I felt like Michigan managed their players the right way to get them in a position to win this game. And Texas A&M, they were just overmatched and overpowered in this game. Talking about Drake, they got their shit kicked in against Texas Tech. This wasn't even close. I mean, don't let the final score fool you of Texas Tech winning 77-64. I mean, Drake was destroyed from the get-go in this game. I mean, it wasn't even close. Moving on down the scores, I just gave the analysis on the Creighton and Auburn game. Final score on that: Creighton 70 and the number 1 overall ranked Auburn 82. BYU in their game, they took out Wisconsin. This was probably the best game of the day, 91-89. At one point, Wisconsin was looking pretty good in this game. Man, BYU just went on a magical run in that second half and made more shots and made more critical shots, in my opinion, to win this game against Wisconsin. That was probably the best game of Saturday's game. And then this is where my bracket went busted all the hell. Gonzaga losing to Houston, but the final score, Houston beating Gonzaga 81-76. This was probably the second best game of the day. I mean, Gonzaga, if they were not facing Houston in the same bracket, I think Gonzaga would have made it to the Sweet 16. But when you're facing Houston, who is the last couple of years have been one of the better number 1 overall seeds, they proved it why they're one of the better teams in this tournament, and they took out Gonzaga. And it sucks for me because I had Gonzaga going to the Final Four. So there's that. But luckily for me, I still have Duke, I still have Tennessee, and I still have Florida in play in the Final Four scenario.
Yeah.
UCLA lost 58 to 10. Speaking of Tennessee, nice segue. UCLA lost 58 against Tennessee 67. Tennessee's ranked number 2, and they are a scary team because no matter who's on their team, no matter who they recruit on their school's team, Tennessee, the Volunteers, are going to find a way to be deep in the dance, deep in the tournament, and making critical plays on the offensive defensive side of the basketball to move on in the tournament. Now we move on to the Sunday portion of the schedule. We mentioned this game. UConn losing to Florida, surprisingly 75-77 against the Gators. And UConn was up 6 in the second half. But Walter Clayton Jr. in Florida went on a run after they called timeouts, making threes, getting defensive rebounds, blocking shots, getting extra possessions. And I told Bo, my friend Bo, my buddy Bo, who went with me to the Seven Dust concert over the weekend for his birthday on Saturday, I said, dude, if Florida wins this game, it is going to be because of the extra possessions that Florida was getting on the offensive side of the basketball from the free throw line. Because I kept listening to this game going, why is Dan Hurley complaining up a storm at the officials? Because by him complaining to the officials, in my opinion, is you can vouch for this because you've seen it not just in basketball, but we've seen this in football, in hockey, and baseball. We've seen these managers and coaches that complain, and sometimes that takes you out of the game. That takes you, along with your team, out of the game. Because I felt like UConn was bitching and complaining at the officials too much and trying to, fight for the whistles, fight for the calls. It bit him in the ass. I mean, this was insane. To think that UConn, who I mentioned, won 13 consecutive tournament games, including back-to-back titles in 22 or 23 and 24, respectively. To think that this team dominated the last 2+ years. They were banking on a third consecutive title, and there's that common thread, just like with the Kansas City Chiefs. You think you're so big and bad. You're the baddest team on the block. You think you can walk in there and bully your opponent. We're gonna beat you up and down the floor. We're gonna out muscle you. We're gonna out physical, be more physical than you. Bring the physicality to your team. We're gonna humble you. We're gonna humiliate you, and so on and so forth. Because UConn's victories were dominant. And again, I said to Bo, if UConn is tested, that's what I want to see. I want to see this so-called great team be tested against another great team. And they were exposed against the Gators because the Gators clearly wanted it more than UConn on Sunday afternoon. This was insane. This was unbelievable to listen to on the way home because the Gators were just getting extra possessions, it seemed, every time. And when we went into the restaurant at Bahama Breeze to wait for our table, I was listening to the game on my phone, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, like they are constantly getting rebound after rebound, and UConn is not boxing out. And we talked about this in the restaurant on the way home. You don't see a lot of players in basketball these days boxing out for rebounds. They're trying to tip the ball. Don't tip the ball. Grab the ball with both hands. When you're tipping the ball, when you're trying to volleyball the ball and tip it, and swat it to your team, instead of doing that, why don't you just grab the damn thing? Because when you grab onto the ball with two hands, you're assuring that you're probably going to get the basketball. Because that could have given UConn extra possessions to take the lead or expand the lead. Because at one point, it was not a comfortable lead for Florida. They were up 64-61 after a touchdown-esque pass down the floor for the dunk. And then they got to the free throw line. And then they made a free throw, missed a free throw, and then UConn missed the rebound. And then they fouled again. So on and so forth. Made a free throw, missed a free throw, didn't get the rebound. You get where this is going. Dan Hurley was bitching at the officials like, you missed this call, you missed that call, blah, 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 blah. Shut the hell up. Your team is out there on the floor in a highly contested game against a great basketball team. And this is where a team can either rise to the occasion or they're going to crumble. And that is what UConn did. They buckled under the pressure. They couldn't take the heat, figuratively and literally, and they got beat in a close game. UConn did not make all the right necessarily X's and O's plays in a basketball game to win this game. And they lost. Fair and square. And Hurley can bitch and complain and cry to the media, I love my players. I love this team. You can cry and piss and moan all day long, Hurley, but it doesn't change the fact that you dominated the last couple of years. Everybody was crowning their asses that this is the future team in college basketball that's going to go on this magic run. Well, there's going to be a new king in town. There's going to be literally a new kid in town, to quote the great Eagles song. There is going to be a new king ascending to the top of the college basketball mountain. And it will not be the Huskies three-peating. Because there's a common thread this year as the Huskies, the Chiefs, these big and bad teams hyped up by the media, and they get beat in big situations.
Yeah, I agree, man.
And then talking about this game, Duke absolutely beat the hell out of Baylor. This wasn't even close during the second half. Hell, it wasn't even really close during the first half. Now, during the first, probably I would say about 10 minutes of the game, yeah, it was still pretty tightly contested. But once it got towards the end of that first half, Duke was pulling away. And the Blue Devils, just like on Friday with their 44-point victory, they rolled over Baylor 89-66, punching their ticket once again to the Sweet 16. And got to give this team a lot of credit for how they played great in these first two games, dominating against teams they should have dominated and beating a very solid Baylor team en route to the Sweet 16. Kentucky beat Illinois 84-75. They're moving on to the Sweet 16. This was probably the game that was probably the most March Madness insane game of the entire first two rounds. Colorado State in a nail biter loses to Maryland in one of the more incredible game-winning shots in tournament history. Maryland is going to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2016. 72-71, the final score in this game on a game-winning shot. It was insane to listen to the conclusion of this game. And then to put a bow on to Sunday's games here, some of these games, obviously not going through every single game because, my God, there's 30 plus games, 40 plus games. 78, Iowa State, Ole Miss won that one 91-78. Like you touched upon, as Arizona's moving on to the Final Four, they beat Oregon 87-83 in that game. Michigan State in the tournament once again. Let's see. Yep, there's that. Yep, okay. Yep. New Mexico gave it a good old college try. They lost to Michigan State 71-63. New Mexico put up a very valiant effort in this game against Michigan State. And they just, again, Michigan State ranked number 2 and New Mexico ranked number 10. This is why these teams that generally are ranked these high seeds, they tend to move on. And that's what Michigan State did. And then, like I just said, Arizona beat Oregon 87-83. And that were some of the games that jumped off to me with this first couple of rounds. And like you touched upon, the Sweet 16 gets going on March the 27th.
Yeah. Let me get back to my page real quick. Here, let's see. Obviously, let's do I don't want exact scores or anything. I just want, for this, we're gonna go over each game in the Sweet 16 real quick, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick a winner, and also to add a little flavor to this, I want you to pick the point spread. In other words, is it 10 points?
2 points, 3 points. Gotcha.
Yeah. Is it gonna be 10 points they win by? Or is it like, let's say, are they gonna win between 10 and 20, 5 and 15, or if the game's gonna be close, 5 and 10, between 5 and 10, or 1 and 6,
sure,
or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So, all right, real quick, let's go through this quick here. Because obviously we got a lot to get into. We still got the women's we want to get into a little bit here. Mainly just some quick thoughts, and then also some news that came out as well. And we also got NFL.
Real quick, before we get into that, shout outs to William Gyron here in the chat. What's up, brother?
How you doing, sir?
And William agrees with my sentiments that Hurley should not be acting like that in front of his players.
You say
Like
one.
seriously, what? And William, makes a great point. What kind of message is that? It's not a great message, William. I agree.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get rolling on that because we still got
He
a little.
also says that Ole Miss was business as usual. North Carolina got what they deserved.
All right. Anything else? He did William type in the chat.
That's it. Ole Miss business as usual. North Carolina got what they deserved, and Hurley should not be acting like that in front of his players.
Okay.
Yep. Moving on. So far.
All right, let's start. Here we go. Auburn versus Michigan.
Oh.
That's a tough. You know what? I'm gonna go with the shocker. I'm gonna go Michigan.
Mm.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
Michigan, and I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it around one to 5 points. So around anywhere between 1 to 5 points. That spread. That's where it's gonna be a
I'm
close
gonna
game.
go with Auburn to move on and survive for this week. Give me Auburn. I'm gonna go between 5 to 10 points.
Of course you would. You always got to vote against me. Sorry. Ole Miss, Michigan State. I'm going Michigan State.
I'm going the opposite.
I'm
Ole
done.
Miss.
I'm done. It's over.
I don't know, man. Like we are we need a giant upset.
Well, I thought I had a giant upset in one of my others. No, I didn't.
Because Ole Miss is playing some really good basketball. And I think that we are due for a stunning upset. And I know that Michigan State is always in this tournament. They're always, in the thick of things, to go far.
So they're not going to be Ole Miss those baskets in this game?
No. Oh, okay. William has Auburn by 6.
Good pick. Good choice on the score. For me, yeah, I'm gonna go Michigan State. I'm gonna go with that by anywhere between. I'm gonna give it 5 to 10 points.
Okay.
Florida and Maryland. I'm not voting against the Gators right now.
No, I am not either. And I honestly think this is where the magic carpet ride for Maryland ends. And I think it's going to be a dominant victory. Give me the Gators between 15 to 20 points.
Okay. Yeah, you want to give it the same thing between 5 to 10. Texas Tech.
Ooh,
Arkansas.
real quick. William has Ole Miss between 2 to 5 points winning.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Arkansas, Texas Tech.
You know what? Give me the Razorbacks. Give me Arkansas.
And who's the head coach of the Razorbacks?
Calipari.
Bingo.
You know what? Buzzer beater.
I'm going. You know what? I'm going game-winning 3-pointer.
I'm going with a game-winning layup. Or no, jump shot. They're down 1. Razorbacks down 1. Game-winning 18-footer.
Okay. Yep, I'm going similar route, but I'm going to go game-winning 3-pointer, Arkansas. All right. Duke Blue Devils, Arizona. Obviously, I know you're going Duke. I'm going Duke as well. I'm going to go.
William also agrees with us on Florida. He has them winning between 10 and 12.
Okay.
Now, this is going to be a tough test for the Blue Devils because Arizona's ranked number 4, but I still have the Blue Devils pulling off a victory. But I'm going to say Duke is going to win between 7 to 10 points.
I'm going to give it a wide.
Williams going with Arkansas between 3 and 5.
Nice. I'm going to go with a little bit of a wider spread on this game. I'm going to go Duke from 2 to 10. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it could be anywhere in that spread. We could see a close matchup.
Whoa, Williams got the Blue Devils outright by 15.
Woohoo! That's rough treading. All right, I just while we're doing this show, I decided to also, of course, as every week as I do, throw it on NXT.
And obviously, Stephanie Vaquer is starting off NXT.
Yes, she'll be defending the women's North American title against the former champion Fallon Henley in Henley's rematch. But next game, BYU and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Give me the Crimson Tide all day, every day. Give me the Crimson Tide in this game. Give me Bama between 5-7.
Give me Bama between give me Bama between I'll say 7 and 12.
Okay.
All right, what does William say?
Nothing yet, but imagine he's probably typing it out right now.
Yeah. All right, Houston and the Purdue Boilermakers.
Ooh, this is going to be a tough one.
I'm gonna go with the Indiana school. I'm gonna go Purdue.
You know what? A number one seed's got to go down eventually. Houston, we have a problem. You're fucked. Give me Purdue.
Give me Purdue. Give
me Purdue.
Between 3 and 8.
Give me Purdue between 3 and 6.
Okay.
Ooh, upset special. William has BYU beating Alabama by 4.
I wonder if that's just a shot at Joey for whatever reason. Speaking, I hope the bronchitis boy can make it out.
Hey. If he heard that, I'm pretty sure he'd be so sick. He also has Houston by 5.
Okay. And the final game, Kentucky, Tennessee.
Tennessee all the way. Kentucky's had a nice run, but the Volunteers are back for business. And they are trying to get back to where they were last year when they faced Purdue in the Final Four. And I think Tennessee is going to punch their ticket to the Elite Eight. I got Tennessee winning this game. I'm going to go with the Volunteers. I'm not going to say a between number. I'm going to pick the number right away. Give me Tennessee by 13.
Give me Kentucky, like I said, been on one hell of a run, but I've always said that my second home is in that beautiful state of Tennessee. So I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Volunteers. If Vanderbilt was in there, I'd be going Vanderbilt. So Tennessee all the way. Give me them by 10-15. And we'll get Williams' response, and then we will move on.
Ooh, right on cue. He has Tennessee between 3-8. And here comes Vaquer out to the ring.
Yes, she is. Let's go as far as the women's bracket goes. As far as the women's tournament, I want to do the scores like we've been doing as we're kind of creeping up on this, as we're in the second hour now. We still got other things that we need to discuss.
Sure.
So, and also we still got our top 5 NFL games that we got to put in here too as well before the end of the show. So for the women, I would like to definitely once I find it here it is. Women's basketball. Let's see. If I can pull out
there were some unfortunate news that came down last night.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to go on now, Stephen, and that is that Juju Watkins, the phenom of USC, unfortunately, just during a run down the field, suffered a torn ACL after some small contact. Her knee gave out and her ACL tore right from the bone. She will be having season-ending surgery and she'll probably not be back until the season after. So we want to wish Juju Watkins the best and a speedy recovery and a full recovery, as that was a very, very shocking moment.
And we thought, and experts thought, and analysts thought, that she was.
Breaking news from the world of blood sport.
Go ahead.
Charlie Dempsey will be returning to the blood sport mat.
Nice.
So back to the Juju Watkins situation.
The unfortunate has happened for her because many of us, a lot of people in the sports industry, that she was going to go to the WNBA and follow, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. I mean, because to have great talent going to the WNBA and bringing eyes onto the product of women's professional basketball, she would have been a part of that class. With Clark and Reese being now second-year players, she would have been a rookie, more than likely. She would have went, professional. But the fact that now she's had a setback, this is going to be giving her even more motivation to get back on that floor when she's healthy in at least 11 months and come back and be a better version of herself. Because fortunately, we have, the technology, the doctors that we have now to work on these players' knees when their knees get injured and stuff, because used to be ACL injuries were considered career-ending injuries. And it just sucks. It sucks. But I just feel awful for her because it comes at a worse time. And I don't think USC is going to go very far in the tournament for the women's. But hypothetically speaking, it would be one hell of a story if USC can win this for her.
Yeah. Just overall sad to hear those news.
William says he loves Juju's game. She's a great player.
Absolutely.
And William also says here in the chat that Williams games are hard to predict. That is true.
Yes, it is. Let's get into it real quick. Let's go ahead and nail this down like we did the other. UCLA versus number 5 Ole Miss.
Oh,
I'm just gonna stick with the flow. I'm gonna go UCLA. I'm gonna go UCLA by anywhere between 5 to 8.
Yeah, give me UCLA as well over Ole Miss. Give me UCLA between 3 and 6.
Okay. All right. Next, LSU. LSU versus NC State.
Give me LSU all the way by 14 outright.
Who would you say LSU beating NC State?
Yep.
You know what? I'll go with LSU. And my point differential is going to be between 6 to 10.
William also has UCLA winning.
Okay, great. All right. Moving on. USC and Kansas State.
Kansas State by 8.
Ooh, I'm going Kansas State. I'm going Kansas State between 8 and 13. By the way, shout out to Kansas State on a shocking victory over Kentucky.
Yes.
Just want to throw that out there, bro.
And Kansas. The Jayhawks. Yeah. You said Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, no, Kansas State beat Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I thought that was...
Yeah, Kansas State beat Kentucky to make it to the Sweet 16.
Got it. And William also has LSU winning as well.
Okay. Next is Oklahoma and UConn.
UConn. That women's team is one of the best women's college teams for the last several years. Give me UConn by 9.
Give me UConn by 10.
William also has Kansas State winning as well.
Awesome. Thank you for keeping up with us on this. I know we're moving at a pretty quick pace, but obviously we got a lot to get into, so we're trying to make sure we fit everything into the show today. South Carolina and Maryland.
South Carolina all the way. Give me
told-
South Carolina by 12.
I'm going to go
12
the opposite. I'm going to go
between-
the opposite. I'm going to go Maryland.
Ooh, an upset.
Going to be an upset. Maryland went double overtime against Alabama. Alabama took them to the limit. And Maryland was able to pull it off in that second overtime thanks to their 3-point shooting, which was the difference behind everything.
William also has UConn winning by 10 as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go upset in this one. I think Maryland's going to surprise South Carolina. North Carolina versus Duke.
Give me Duke. It's going to be a close one. Give me Duke by 4, between 4 and 7.
Oh, by the way, Maryland will win. Maryland will win by 2.
South Carolina by 4, William predicts.
Who'd you pick, Duke again?
I did. But Duke between 4 and 7.
Okay. I'm going to go Duke between 6 and 9. And then we've got Texas and Tennessee.
Give me Tennessee. Give me Tennessee by
upset.
Yep.
I know Mark Henry will never be friends with me. Will never be friends with any of us if I don't pick the
I'm calling upset. Why not? Give me Tennessee by 5.
I'm going Texas.
Ooh. Okay, William's going with North Carolina by 3.
Okay, I like that.
I like it.
I'm going Texas by 4.
Okay.
And finally, TCU versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Give me TCU. Give me TCU by 6.
I'm trying not to let my hatred for Notre Dame.
Oh, Williams going with Tennessee as well. By 5 as well. Wow.
How come I'm the only one who picks the actual team? Fuck. I'm not gonna let my blind hatred for Notre Dame cloud my judgment. I never liked Notre Dame, never will. I did step on their football field, and it was great to step on it one time because obviously I got to be on it, and it was phenomenal. But as a school and even in football, I hate them with a passion. I would say TCU.
The greatest thing to hit that field was Garth Brooks a couple years ago. Just saying.
I would go TCU by 40, but then that would be me being an asshole. I mean, I am, but whatever. But no, I'm gonna in realistics. I'm gonna go TCU by 5. So we'll get the final result from Mr.
Oh, Williams got Notre Dame by 4.
How do we ban him from the chat?
Oh, Booker, will you shut the hell up?
Ah! I knew that was coming. Booker, shut the fuck up. As you always say.
I hate when he does the corner. Shut up.
No, folks, you're not hearing something rated X. Our language is rated X, but not the show. All right, well, that's the end of the NCAA discussion. Let's move on quickly to football, and let's talk about, of course, the other piece of news that broke before the show began, or right as the show began, and that is that Russell Wilson will be signing with the New York Giants. And he'll be signing, I believe it is a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken.
You would be correct.
1 year, $10.5 million. And he can earn up to $21 million on the deal with incentives. So now you have
shut the fuck up.
Now you have as your quarterbacks on the Giants, you have Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito. And of course, that leaves the door open for Dark Retreat Rogers to either head to Mark's and Deb's beloved Steelers, or to
He's
complete
going to
the
complete the cycle.
cycle and go to the Vikings. So there's that. Let me go through Adam Schefter's Twitter real quick to see if there was any other breaking news, anything important from this past week that we need to get in.
And the match is over.
Yep. Thank you for coming in, Miss Fallon Henley. Now, La Primera is still double champ. Let's see here. As far as big news, let's see here. Seahawks have signed former 49ers tight end Eric Sober, sorry. Bears have hired Laura Anderson, the former chief financial officer and treasurer for the Big Ten Conference, as their senior vice president of administration and chief financial officer. Of course, Jameis Winston going to the Giants on a 2-year deal worth $8 million.
Man, the Giants quarterback situation. Oh, for the love of God, Booker, shut the hell up.
Also, to
okay, I got sidetracked because of Booker T's shitty commentary.
Let's not get sidetracked. Let's move forward here.
Oh yeah, shut up, Booker.
All right.
Anyways, the quarterback situation with the Giants, it is abysmal. It is bad. I mean, Jameis Winston is your backup. Because if Russell Wilson sucks with the Giants, and oh dear God, that offensive line for the Giants is so bad. I don't care if Chef Russ is back there quarterbacking. If that offensive line is not good, they're not going to keep him upright. And then they're going to put Jameis Winston in the game. And he's the king of throwing interceptions.
Also, too, some sad news to report out of the Patriots. Unfortunately, their 1982 first overall pick, Kenneth Sims, passed away 4 days ago. I believe he passed away at the age of either 65 or 66 years old. So definitely want to send our condolences to his family and friends. Seahawks have signed wide receiver River Crackraft to a deal. And real quick, let's throw this into play, Steven. Let's talk about this. We're gonna go from the NFL discussion to the passing of, unfortunately, of George Foreman.
Yes, and what a legend good old George was. Man, what a career in the world of professional boxing. And not just as a professional boxer, but what a legacy, not just in the ring, but as a businessman.
Yeah, absolutely one of the greatest boxers to ever do it, man. May he rest in peace, and thank you. Thank you for boxing, and thank you for the lean, mean, fat reducing gorilla machine as well. So, let's see. Jason Tatum suffered a injured ankle last night in Sacramento and had to leave the game.
And fortunately for him, it is not significantly worse. It is a sprain.
All right. Yeah, so he took a hard hit, and that's how he got his ankle injured. The Orlando Magic Hall of Fame inducted, of course, one of the greatest players of all time, and that is Mr. Dwight Howard.
Now there are two players that identify as Superman in the Magic Hall of Fame.
Yep. Let's see here. Real quick. The latest standings update. Western Conference. Right now we have the Oklahoma City Thunder who have clinched a playoff berth. The Rockets who have clinched a postseason. Then behind them you have the Nuggets, the Lakers, the T-Wolves or the Grizzlies, and the Golden State Warriors. And in the play-in tournament, right, as if it were end this is of course if it were end today. You have I don't know what it's weird logo, I can't tell. What conference is Brooklyn in? Eastern or Western?
Eastern.
Okay. Can't tell his team is they're 40 and 31. But you also got the T-Wolves, the Kings, and the Phoenix Suns. And then looking in are the rest, which is of course you got Portland Trailblazers, San Antonio Spurs, Pelicans. They're all looking out right now. Eastern Conference.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Can you help me out here? Because some of these logos didn't remember changing.
Let's see.
You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and read the actual standings from the instead of looking at this freaking bracket because it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, because I went to Google.
Here we go. Here we go. I got it now. I got it. It took me a second. Now I finally got it. So yeah. Yeah. So the other teams I was mentioning, Raptors, Net. Oh, hold on. What the fuck? Here we go. Mavericks, Trailblazers, Spurs, Pelicans, and Jazz. Those are players that are all outside looking in right now. Then in the Eastern Conference, you have the Cavaliers who have clinched the Central Division. You have the Pelicans who have clinched a playoff spot. And then you have clinched the postseason already. Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, and Pistons. And then you have the Hawks, Magic, the Bulls, and the Heat right now for the play-in.
Yeah.
So outside looking in now, you have the Raptors, Nets, Sixers, Hornets, and Wizards.
Just a matter of time before Boston clinches another spot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we got that to go. Little update there. I thought I saw something for Sham Sarania the other day, I'm sure, or yesterday or something. Let me check his. Damn it. Here we go. Damian Lillard has sustained a deep vein thrombosis, aka a blood clot, in his right calf. Lillard is on blood thinning medication, which has stabilized the blood clot and will continue with regular testing. He is out for an indefinite period.
That is not good.
Yes, very, very much so. Oh, going back to college basketball real quick. They have a new Sacramento State has a new head coach. Former NBA and Kings star Mike Bibby. Let's see.
Real quick here in the chat, William says, "Are they going to play Are they going to play Wilson and Danny DeVito at the same time?
Oh God. My camera was off.
Obviously, his name is Tommy DeVito, but we're calling him Danny DeVito because obviously, why the hell not?
Yeah.
And obviously, William says here in the chat, and we obviously agree that Big George will be missed. A good ambassador.
Yeah.
A goodwill ambassador. Yes, he was.
Guess who made a return last night? The Buzz Lightyear toy himself, Anthony Davis.
Oh, good for him. Yay! Until he gets injured again.
Yep, absolutely. Steph Curry's of course Steph Curry currently dealing with that pelvic bruise that he sustained, but we'll see what happens with that. Grizzlies say Brandon Clark will miss the rest of the season with a high-grade PCL sprain in his right knee. Let's see who else. Oh, the big story. Bill Chisholm, the former, he had bought the Celtics for a record $6.1 billion.
Unbelievable.
Bought it from the Grauspecks, who bought the Celtics for $360 million back in 2002. Insane. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have as far as NBA news. Obviously, it's been kind of slow, but Domantas Sabonis will miss 10 days, at least 10 days with a right ankle sprain. So, and that's all I got for the world of the NBA. Let's see. What else can I hit you with? I think that's it for the major sports. I really don't have any big UFC news. Not much of anything of note as I know of.
I do.
So, what?
I do. Before we get to the top 5 games, I do want to talk briefly about last night. John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Yet another great segment between these two. John Cena for a second consecutive week coming out and just trashing the fans. And it's so funny as how we talked about this last week, the spinner belt. And he brought up the spinner belt in the promo.
Yeah. Yeah, we did bring that up, and he wants to ruin WWE for everybody. So,
and he had a great line at the end of that promo. Basically saying revenge is the best dish served cold.
yeah.
And then just talking about how I'm going to win the 17th title. Like, I don't have the full quote in front of me, but it was just such a great quote that he said at the end of the promo.
Yeah,
and
he
then,
basically said, I'm gonna make you forget the limousine riding jet flying record that is Ric Flair, and then
you will remember John Cena. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm going to walk away with this title. And he said to the effect of, I forget what he said, but it was amazing. It was another great promo battle between Cody and John, and we're going to see one more next week on Raw as well. Also want to give a shout out from, you talk about wrestling, also want to give a shout out to, and this was big, announced today earlier on Busted Open Radio, the new host joining the channel, and that is, of course, the man formerly known as Baron Corbin and now known as Noam Bishop Dyer, Tom Pestock. He will now be a member. He will now be a host on Busted Open Radio. There's no set schedule on when he'll be every week, but he will be joining Tommy Dreamer as a replacement for Thunder Rosa, who unfortunately couldn't be on the show tomorrow. He will be there. And so we get to hear Baron, Tom, whatever you want to call him, Bishop, on the show for the first time starting tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to hear from the former Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner.
And football player because he has a football career as well.
Yep, former Golden Gloves champion, now winning golds in Pan Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournaments. So, guy's been doing everything, man. Can't credit him for not staying busy. So,
Yeah,
obviously,
and
it's
I
gonna be
I,
great
I
to
do
have
I,
him.
I do want to piggyback to George for a second because one thing that stood out to me about this guy is he not only had one of the greatest fights against Muhammad Ali, the Rumble in the Jungle, back in the 70s, but he
Yeah.
also became the oldest fighter to win the heavyweight championship of the world. I believe he was 45 when I read that. He was
Yeah.
40 he was 45 years old
Yeah.
when he won the title for the last time. Just unbelievable. I mean, just and not just as a boxer, but just
Oh
as a
shit.
businessman. Oh,
The machine guns. Machine guns are hyping up Hank and Tank, getting ready for their match.
yeah,
All right, cool.
very
Um,
cool.
all right. You ready to do the damn thing? You ready to do your top 5 NFL games of the year?
I believe I am.
So how we are we gonna do this? So we're gonna go back. I do my number 5, you do your number 5, or do you want us to run down the list?
Run down the list.
All right, I'll go first. You don't mind?
Go ahead.
All right, number 5. I'm gonna go with the week 17. The game between the Denver Broncos and the Buff and Cincinnati.
Oh, that was such a great game.
That was an awesome game. Denver proved their worth. They lost to Cincinnati, but man, one hell of a game. Just absolutely. Number 4, I'm gonna go with Green Bay in Detroit, week 14. 34-31, Detroit beats Green Bay. Number 3, I'm gonna go with I forget if it was the not the conference, but the divisional round. The Washington Redskins in their big win in the divisional round.
Oh, you're talking about the game again when the Commanders beat the Buccaneers.
Yes.
That was a hell of no.
No, I'm
Um,
talking about the game that led them to the NFC Championship, wasn't
oh,
it?
Detroit.
Yeah, when they beat Detroit and eliminated them. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
One hell of a game. Jaden Daniels' best game to date. Uh, since that was number 3, right? I think it was. Yeah, it was. Number 2, I'm gonna go with the divisional round matchup between Baltimore and Buffalo. And then number 1 is for me. I know it's gonna be obvious, but for me, last game of the season, week 17, Chicago finally beats Green Bay. And not only that, it is the last game that Virginia McCaskey was able to watch. And that was the game that matters the most. And that is Chicago finally ending that long losing streak against Green Bay. What a moment. I was beyond happy to finally have my Bears finally put an end to that curse that had been haunting us since Aaron Rodgers joined Green Bay. And
Not just that, Ezra, but the curse that was on that team the entire year because
yeah,
Chicago at one point was a highly contested team in the NFC North, but they went on this losing streak. At one point, they were 4-2,
yep,
and they lost and lost and lost. And the game that got Eberflus out of Chicago was the infamous Thanksgiving game against Detroit.
yep,
Did not call a timeout.
yep. And And now it all leads to this coming season with Ben Johnson at the helm. I can't wait for that. But just that to me, that game meant a lot, and that's why I put it in number one, because we finally ended that curse against Green Bay, and it made me happy. And also with the unexpected passing of Virginia McCaskey, it was awesome and heartwarming for her final game she got to watch in person. Would be probably the most meaningful. So when it comes to our rivalry, so definitely happy about that. Steven, your list, my friend.
Oh man, this is so tough because you look at the games that happened this past year, there ended up being some really good games, and despite a lot of mediocrity. I'm going to say for my top five, I'm going to go with number five. I'm going to go with at number five, I'm going to go with the Commanders beating the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football in the debut on Monday Night Football for Jaden Daniels. Had one of the greatest touchdown catches to Terry McLaurin. Covered and still found it a way to thread that ball in. Number four, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. That was just a great overall game, very competitive. Buffalo had their chances to win that game, but unfortunately, ref ball and Josh Allen not making enough plays reared its ugly head. And number three, and I cannot single these two games into single games because both games were that competitive. Number three is both Baltimore and Cincinnati's two games against each other because they were both that good. But the game that comes to my mind between those two games is that Thursday night game. The game where Jamar Chase went off, the game where Joe Burrow went off, T. Higgins went off. Or I don't think Higgins was actually playing in that game. But I know Chase was. But Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase and company thought that they could outscore and make gambling decisions against the Ravens, and it backfired. And not just that game on Thursday night, but the Sunday night game in September. And Kevin, our very own Kevin, said it himself on the show during that prediction battles back in September. I think it was in week 5. He said that was going to be the best game of the week. And he was not lying. And that game was so competitive. The Thursday night game was so competitive as well. I mean, and those were two games that Cincinnati lost that bit them in the worst possible of fashions. And those were two games that led to Cincinnati pretty much not making the playoffs. Especially that loss that the Bengals had against the Patriots in week 1. Moving on to number 2, and speaking of the Bengals, once again they are featured once again. But this time, like Ezra, you just said as your number 5, this is my number 2. Cincinnati, Denver, week 17. The game of games. Just when you thought you knew it all. Just when you thought you could predict the game's outcome happening. This game had everything and then some. Lead changes, clutch play after clutch plays, missed kicks after missed kicks, dumb coaching decisions, you name it. This game was on all the drugs and then some. Joe Burrow making great plays. T. Higgins making great plays. Jamar Chase making great plays. Bo Nix making phenomenal plays. Minus the one interception, but that touchdown pass he had in the final seconds of regulation to send that game into overtime. It was magical. Magical how good this game was. It was on the edge drama. It was insane how good this game was. So competitive. So competitive. And Cincinnati at this point was on a winning streak of their own, winning 4 games in a row. And they were having a puncher's chance of getting into the playoffs. But they had to have a lot of help. But that didn't happen. And when you have to rely on teams to give you help, that's when you should have won more games to assure you that you're going to make the tournament in the NFL. And Cincinnati survived that game, but they didn't survive the next week because by Sunday of the Week 18 schedule, Cincinnati was eliminated. Yeah, they ended their season on a winning streak of getting in position to make the playoffs, but you got to win the games that you're supposed to win. If they would have won one or more or a couple of more extra games, they would have been in the tournament. They would have been in the dance and having a shot to contend for another Super Bowl appearance. And that moves on. There could be only one truly great game. And it just so happened to be the greatest game of Thursday Night Football from this past season. The Detroit Lions in Motor City taking on Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. In my opinion, the greatest game of the year last year. These two teams laid it out there on the field. They played great, played competitive football. Jordan Love making great plays. Jared Goff making great throws. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, my goodness gracious. I mean, that's a bad boy. He's an incredible dual threat running back. And this was during when I believe Montgomery, I want to say he was still there. I want to say he was there at that time. And then against the Bills is when he got injured. I believe so. I'll have to look later on and to find the stats to see if Montgomery was in that game. I think he was. I think he was playing in this game. But to the game itself, it was just a phenomenal competitive game. Thank you, William, for being here in the chat, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Absolutely.
just a great game between the Packers and the Lions. This was the best game, and just I loved how Dan Campbell was so competitive with his play calling. Because there was a couple of times where if they didn't get a first down or two, Green Bay could have had the ball and had a shot to drive and win this game. Because at one point, Green Bay was up and Detroit kept battling, and they got the lead. And then Green Bay got the lead, and they got the lead. They were both making deep plays, and let's be honest, neither defense played great in this game predominantly. But the Lions made more plays to win the game. But if we're being honest, Dan Campbell made more gambling type decisions to get this team into field goal game winning. But yeah, it was a rather interesting year last year in the NFL. And hopefully we'll get some games next year that we'll get more of a consistent schedule, because there was a lot of bad games last year. Because I know at one point we had that Cincinnati game on Sunday night against the Chargers, and it's so funny, that was the one game that my scenario almost played out. I had the Chargers up by 20 plus, Cincy coming back and winning the game, but 2 out of those 3 scenarios happened, and that's one of the games that the Bengals lost.
And that was our top 5 games of 2024, 2025.
And we were trying to stall for Joey to come in, but I don't think he's going to make it in time.
He's not.
So
He's been under the weather anyway, so
yeah,
we'll let him
so
give his list next week. You
yeah,
know, it's
he said he was going to try to come in, but I don't think that's going to happen. He'll give his list obviously next week, and hopefully he's feeling better later on this week. Because yeah, I know that bronchitis. Trust me, it ain't no joke.
no, of course not. Um, let's see. One more. Let me take a quick look at my phone, see if there's anything I needed to say real quick before I wrap up my end of the deal. But I think that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else. Steven, do you have damn it, do you have anything that you
I think I am good as well.
all right. Uh Steven, final thoughts.
Great show tonight with you. Thank you to William and being in the chat tonight, being active all night long. It was really, really, really fun here tonight, talking about these games and recapping these games and giving his opinions and score, predictions for both the women and the men for the Sweet 16.
You all
And
right there?
just to clarify, yes, Stephen Montgomery did play in that game against Green Bay
Okay.
on Thursday night.
All right.
Back in the fall. But yeah, great show with you. Also, I would not be remiss if I didn't bring this up, but the UFL's season kicks off this week. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson will be there at the first game of the season.
As he was last year.
Yup. And I do want to briefly want to say I did forget last week when I was on the show to talk about the Disturbed show that I was at with Seven Dust and 3 Days Grace in Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Just a phenomenal, great show by all three bands. Seven Dust kicking off the night, sounded great. You could not pick a better band. If you have a three-band build, Seven Dust just kicks ass, takes names, just great dudes. Sounded great. 3 Days Grace with both singers. I did not know how this was going to go, but both Adam and Matt both traded off lead vocals and backing vocals. Both sounded phenomenal, singing not just on their own songs that they sung lead vocals on, but also contributing background vocals to the others' counterpart songs that they wrote with the band. And then Disturbed came out, did 2.5 hours of just straight up hard rocking, fist pumping music, highlighted by them playing The Sickness front to back in its entirety, and also including a second set full of greatest hits and so on and so forth. And just the band sounded phenomenal. I mean, you can tell that Draymond and the boys, David Draymond and company, are having so much fun playing these deep cuts from The Sickness. And that leg of that tour wrapped up this past Friday at Madison Square Garden in New York City. And the second leg of that tour kicks off this Friday, I believe. No, this Saturday, excuse me, this Saturday in Cincinnati. And that leg will be nothing more as the opening man. And then in the special guest slot, it is Daltrey. And speaking of Seven Dust, Peabody's Virginia Beach on Saturday for my good buddy Bo Morse's birthday, along with his daughter Olivia. This was me and him, obviously, we've been to many Seven Dust shows. We know how great they are live. But we were more excited for his daughter, who has never been to a true rock show. And for her to finally experience that bolt of energy from Seven Dust in a live setting, a intimate live setting, it was fucking incredible. It was, in my opinion, it was the greatest Seven Dust show that I've ever been to when it comes to the setting that it was at. Because yeah, you can have a big arena, with a bunch of fans in it already, but you can't replicate that kind of energy with that type of music in an arena unless it's a packed arena, and everybody's there to see you. To see that band go from playing Madison Square Garden the night before in New York in a sold out arena to being in a small place, tight. I mean, it was literally tight in the entire building. Thousand, it was 1,000+ people in the building, sold out, not a empty spot in that building. The crowd that was there, they were loud, they were boisterous, they were energized. And what John Witherspoon said during after when they played Bitch, which that got the crowd going too. I mean, they went from just to give you the set list from this past Saturday in Virginia Beach. Real quick before I get to the set list, opening band from Michigan, Horizon Theory, was really, really good. I was totally surprised how good they were. They sounded really good. Like, I can't put my finger on who they sound like. I hear a little like old school Shinedown vocally in a way with the power vocals that Brent Smith used to have. I also hear a little Kill Switch and All That Remains kind of guitar sound and like heavy screaming kind of vocals. Great drumming, great bass lines, and then also some rapping vocals too at times. Kind of Linkin Park, sounding. I'm like, holy smokes, like just really, really good. Like they got a debut album that came out, I believe a couple of months ago, and they surprised the hell out of me. They were really good. But getting here to the set list from Seven Dust from this past Saturday at Peabody's in Virginia Beach, opening up from the next record, Pieces, then into Denial, into Bitch. Denial and Bitch definitely set the tone with the crowd. Then they go into Crucified from the Animosity album, right into Disgrace from Seasons, Suffocate from Seasons, into Enemy from Seasons. I mean, and Ezra, you know this, being wrestling fans, Enemy was also the theme song for Unforgiven 2003. Just a great song. Great song. And then another great song. I mean, sorry, Seamus, but banga after banga after banga. This set list was killer. And then going into Shine from the Animosity album. In the Angel's Son. Fantastic song, as we all know. If you're a Seven Dust fan, you know that song. You love that song. Into the song that started it all, Black. That entire place was jumping, vibing, and also to shout outs to the people that were in these mosh pits. Everybody was looking out there for one another. The energy was so amazing in that building. I'm so glad that the people that were working this place, they look out there for the fans, and the fans were looking out there for everybody else around them. Just the hard rock and metal community is some of the best people that I know and have been around. Even when that one guy went down there in the pit, they picked him back up. Because that's what true rock and metal heads do. They look out for their brothers and sisters. Anyways, continuing on down the set list. They played Separate, Praise, and capping off with Face to Face. Just a great set list, great times, and Bo's daughter, Olivia, she looked at us and she goes, now I get it. And that's what we were wanting to hear this entire time. Shout outs to my brother Bo. Happy birthday, brother. It was a hell of a trip, hell of a time, and looking forward to doing another concert trip with you once again soon down the road, my friend. It was a hell of a birthday weekend, hell of a good time. Great people, great vibes, great energy. Awesome place to have a concert. Small as hell, tight as hell, but it was amazing. And if Seven Dust is coming near you, you best not miss it, because they never disappoint live. They bring the goods 100% live. No bullshit. All killer, no filler. They leave every ounce of energy on and off that stage. Just incredible experience on Saturday. It is going to be hard to top this headlining show from this past Saturday in Virginia Beach. Just an all-around awesome night. And speaking of awesome, thank you for an awesome show here tonight. Talking about the NFL, talking about the March Madness tournament. We look forward to Joey coming back on next week and giving us his top 5 games from the NFL season last year, and also giving his analysis on the March Madness tournament, not just from the Sweet 16, but also to games that stood out to him in the first 2 rounds. You can also follow us on Twitter at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, where we are live on most Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific at YouTube.com/Nation Sports Show. Be sure to like, share, smash that subscribe button to all your family and friends that love the world of sports just as much as we do. And also don't forget to follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner, Facebook.com/Nation's Corner, and where the guys and gal are live mostly every Saturday night. On Saturday nights where it's all right for fighting with a little wrestling talk. RASSLIN, that's wrestling. Talking wrestling. YouTube.com/Nation's Corner. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Get all your wrestling talk from the guys and gals. They talk everything from WWE, AEW, TNA, and so much more as we boogie on our way down the road to WrestleMania 41 in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. And with that being said, you can follow our individual channels in the description. And also, don't forget to follow Joey at Roll_Tide 1992 and K-Rock Kevin Rory at That Niner Gang 10. And with that being said, Ezra, wrap us up, my friend.
Will do, man. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. Everybody who was watching this video on demand or live, we appreciate your response. Thank you to Big Stevie here for, of course, helping me out tonight. Joey, we hope you feel better soon. And Kevin Rory, maybe Hijacker Mike, we hope to see you all next week. But don't forget to like, subscribe, share, follow me at Deadman469 across most of my socials, anyways. Don't forget to follow Too Sweet Cosplay across all socials as well. Also want to throw a little plug out here as well to another great thing. Actually, I'll hold off on that plug. I'll hold off on that plug till next week, but definitely follow Too Sweet Cosplay and follow Nation's Corner and all that good stuff. So with that being said, we're out of here. For Kevin Rory, for Joey Thornton, Stephen Wyand, Randy, William, Gyron, this, that, your sister's ass, and everything in between. I am Ezra Vickery. We will see you all next week for another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next time, same YouTube channel. Peace out.
Turn me up. Turn me up.